Hey everybody, I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and you are on the lifeboat. I'm back at the helm, so to speak, and going a little early today. Had to go a little early today. I've got some stuff that has come up that I've got to take care of later in the day, and I didn't want to. I'm doing all right, Tommy. Thank you, man. So I wanted to come on here and start. I didn't want to miss out on a boat because I really need to talk to you guys, and it's kind of what we do, right? It's what we do. Hello, Jill Bell Baggins. Good to see you. So, yeah, we've talked about this about 200,000 times, give or take. I honestly don't think that there's any subject that we've spent more time on than communication, and for really good reason. If you stick with the premise that the opposite of addiction is connection, then the only weapon we have in that arsenal is our ability to communicate, right? And things get really, really jacked up when we communicate poorly, right? November 18th, something like that, 1956, I think it was. If I'm wrong on that, just because I'm getting old and I'm not as sharp as I used to be. But addressing the UN and the Nikita Khrushchev said something that was translated, "We will bury you," right? Which, of course, we didn't take well. Biz, good to see you, bud. Glad that you're here, man. Love you, Bizzle. We didn't take that well, right? Because that sounds frightening, doesn't it? As it turns out, over time, history has kind of let us realize. Oh, thank you, Lord. History has kind of let us realize that that was misquoted for real. It was actually Khrushchev's translator that they say blew the translation, and what the effect was, what he was going for was, we're not going to bury us, you're not going to bury us. But we're just going to basically go about our stuff. If you read the quote, you can look it up online, but it's disturbing how far off of the mark it was compared to what people to this day, right, still say. Right? Why didn't we get along with the Russians? Well, hell, Nikita Khrushchev's out there saying we're going to bury you. Right? There's songs written where that's a lyric in it. Isn't it a Sting song or something? But I think it's a life lesson that when you get off the rails with communication, you are in deep, deep doo-doo. Right?
Stay hydrated, man.
Yeah. Stay hydrated, drink as much water as you can possibly hold. So, one of the things that we hear time and time again with people on the boat is that if you're living an active addiction, or if you are struggling with anything where trauma is an issue, the first thing we do is we isolate, right? And loneliness is a disease all of its own. And sadly, it's a disease that most of us choose. You hear people talk about loneliness and things of that nature, and there are events in your life that will cause you to be lonely, and there's nothing you can do about it. If you're in third grade and mom and dad move to a new place, right, that's tough. You leave all your friends behind and end up in a new school. You got to make new friends, right? It's tough, and it's real. Happens to kids all the time, right? As you get older, the same kind of thing happens. You get transferred to a new place, right? And all of a sudden, all of those people that you spent all of that time with are gone, and you got to sort of start that process all over. Well, sadly, a lot of times, as we get older and we get a little bit more stuck in our ways, we don't do that, right? So when we move to the next spot, man, we shut down a little bit more, right? And that stupid, thing that shut us all down and got everybody sick, that shut everybody down a little bit further. And communication has been going the way of the dodo, right? I've told the story on here before, but I had a guy I was communicating with, and I said to him, got him a text, and I said, "Hey, can we just talk real quick?" And he said, "On the phone?" with a question mark. And I said, "Yes." And he said, "What are we, cavemen?" Wow. No, I knew he's trying to be funny, but the truth of the matter is that we have become a society that doesn't do a really good job communicating. These things are great for what they can do. But occasionally you should put this thing to your ear. For real, man. Listen to somebody's voice. You will find out that it's a whole lot different than texts, right? I could text you something and I can say the exact same thing to you, and it will mean two completely different things, right?
I call it text file.
Well, if you're doing this one, right? And I'm not suggesting that that's a good thing, right? But it obviously conveys a completely different emotion, right? Or pleading with somebody. Hard to plead with somebody on a text, right? And I think it's,
Nuance and emotion.
well, you type out "I love you," right? And I do this to my daughter probably every day. But boy, it's a lot nicer if you can see her and talk to her and tell you love her, right? That communication thing really goes a long, long way. Don't do it. This thing has been hiding. You gotta be kidding me. And it's gonna go on for 3 weeks.
Oh,
You're kidding.
nice.
Nice. Do me a favor. Put that wherever you put the Sustroming.
Yeah,
Yeah, that thing goes off all the time. It is the absolute most annoying device on planet Earth.
it's such a free watch. Though.
Yeah, no, gorgeous. Gorgeous. Stunning. I would show it to you, but it's embarrassing. It's not even in the inventory. I tried to give it away at like 4 shows. I used to carry watches to shows to give to kids, right?
The kid would want this.
No, actually, kids could love that, but thank you for just being a little bit more cruel than necessary. Sadly, if you walk into a restaurant, right, you'll see 2 people sitting across from one another with their phones in their hands, right, doing this number. And it's the saddest thing in the entire world, right? The saddest thing in the entire world. When's the last time you went out on a date, or you went out with someone to talk and had somebody go like this? But that baby way away. So stroming is good for dehydration. See Tina Marino's. Excellent. And I'll tell you why. Don't get confused with the fact that it's the brine, right? All of that salt that's going to help with the dehydration, because that, although it's beneficial, isn't really the moneymaker. I think what it is the filth that the fish were. Because see, really, in all honesty, the problem is there's not enough brine. Like that's the entire concept of sustroming. They were trying to get over on somebody by not putting enough salt into a package. It was a hustle. It was a con. Yeah, and then they stuck with it. And that same con has now been going on for hundreds of years. But I think back then, you probably had to just eat whatever you could eat.
I can tell by the concepts from Swedes. They're in on it.
I think most of the country is in on it in one way or the other, because it's not something that you can actually. The dehydrated apricots are pretty disgusting, and the batch that was here was just way worse than the first one. I guess they come in a lot of flavors, but that one was really, really awful. So, where does this land us at this communication thing, right? If this is our biggest problem, and I promise you, folks, it's not just our biggest problem, but it could be the best weapon you have on planet Earth to do anything that you want to do. For real, I don't care what it is. It all starts with communication, every bit of it. And you know what? What we do here is cool as hell. I love the lifeboat. I really do. I love the lifeboat. Occasionally, it's pretty important to go out and talk to some people in person. Whatever it is you got to do that. And there are people who do it in a myriad of ways, right? But, there's nothing cooler than watching kids, right? If you ever seen like 25 or 30 kids get dumped on a playground that have never met one another, right? It takes about 60 seconds. And they will just walk up to one another. Hey, you want to be my friend? Right? It's the coolest thing in the entire world. Absolutely no inhibitions, because nobody's ever put one into them. Right? They haven't been taught that, that that's uncool. But I think that we really need to start working this connection thing a little bit better. Right? I'm really going to be working on my communication. That is going to be. That's my goal for 2023 through, say, 2040. Because the more I think I'm good at it, the more I'm really starting to realize that nobody's good at it, or very few people seem to be good at it anymore. It's easy to sit here and do what I do, Believe it or not, it's super easy to sit here and do what I do. But if you're firing back and forth at somebody that may not agree with you, it is a completely different thing. Saw somebody do it last night and really do it well. But it's we need to get better at this communication thing, people. We really do. I would recommend that perhaps maybe take a one day next week, pick one, right? And say, I'm not going to text, right? Let's do the alliteration thing. How about a Tuesday, right? No text Tuesday, no text Thursday. It's not the same snap. The T isn't really the same. What are you thinking? You got that look on your face. Like,
I got that.
yeah, it's kind of, that was the look. I think it was that. There's a slight bit of confusion there. He had that, I was told there'd be no math look, but I wasn't even asking about math. Monster math. We're on the right time of year. So I really do want to take one day and just not text anyone. And here's the thing. This is something that it does to people. And I understand why. But what happens is when you get into normal communication, and by normal communication, I mean you actually saying something out of your mouth, someone listening to it, processing it, and then saying something back, right? We become a society that loses patience with people if they can't do that in 120 characters, right? So the days of being a wordsmith or crafting something that you say, while they're not dead, they're certainly going away. And what's being left in its place certainly doesn't bring people closer together. Right? You know what? This is a really cool comment. This is a really cool comment. That's the beauty of children. It doesn't matter who the other person or color. Children just want to play. I always try and say something nice to a stranger. Maybe a nice shirt or a nice skirt. I love it. And honestly, it's on the list, believe it or not, of there's a little segment we're going to be doing in the next couple of days, if I can keep my head in it, right? Had a bad day yesterday. I think I'm glad that I'm here. Snotface, good to see you. I'm glad that I'm here, and I'm glad that I'm talking. We're going to be doing a segment on the worst habits, right? The absolute worst habits that you can do, right? And there's about 12 or 13 of them, and some of them actually, are kind of, they're the kind of things where if they tell you what you shouldn't be doing, it's really obvious what you should be doing. And amazingly, what this does for your dome piece, right? Your head. As we age, obviously, we all risk losing a little bit of our snap, right? As we get older, some people develop dementia. Some people develop Alzheimer's. And this is something we're seeing a lot more of these days. Sadly, the numbers are getting higher. And as we live longer, this is something that is a bigger threat, right? Which is, you take the good with the bad, right? But I've been doing a lot of deep diving on what can keep your brain going longer. I think it's a hell of a subject. Are there things out there that you can do that will slow down the progression of things like dementia or forgetting things, or, And as it turns out, there's a crap load of them. How's that? A ton. Seriously, there's so much research to what you can do. And it's not small things. Like I said, we're going to do a whole series on this, but there are things that you can do that are simple as hell, little early morning routines that through double-blind studies with placebos and the whole shooting match will tell you that you can get about 3 more years of normal headspace, right? Before the decline. Boy, that's not much I wouldn't do for 3 more years, people, right? How the crap am I late again? Well, Steve, you didn't get the memo, but I started way early, so I apologize. If you go back right now and you start watching this at 1.5 or 1 3/4 or whatever it is, you'll catch up to this pretty quick, I promise, because I'm talking really slow today. I'm not bubbling with energy. Is it my imagination, or do I have a pepper eater walking in and out of the office.
I won't do it again.
Behind me. No, you won't. Get Fleet Street on you. You're familiar? Fleet Street? Anyone? Anyone? So communication, people. As I started to go through these best and worst habits, one of the other things that they say, one of the fastest ways to shut down a human being is to remove human interaction and connection. For real. You stop communicating with people, you're beat, and quick. So what we've been saying all along, boy, it's spot on, right? This connection stuff is absolutely, if not the most important thing, one of the most important things you can do for your mental health, for your body, right? For cognitive, for preventing cognitive decline. I don't really think that there's anything that does not benefit us through more connection. And we were really good at it at one time. If you go back 25 years, everybody had 4 or 5 things that they did, right? Seriously. There were outdoor activities. There were, softball leagues, and people still do this. Nothing like they used to. Nothing. There was going out and being a part of a club was a thing. We don't spend a lot of time socializing these days anymore. And when we don't, it's, one of the worst problems of this is that we took a lot of people who were probably social drinkers, people who were abusive drinkers, or recreational drug users, and turned them into pretty rowdy drug addicts over the course of that, lockdown. Because if you've got somebody that's struggling anyway, and they use dope 3 or 4 times a week normally, and lock them up, right? Take away all of that interaction. Well, we're working from home. That's good. You can work from home. Human interaction is huge, people. It's absolutely huge. And I am bad. I'm really bad. I have the older, there you go. The older I get, the less social I feel sometimes. And you feel like you've done everything. You have to say this one just perfectly, or they'll edit it and make me look really stupid. But as you get older, you're able to prejudge things that are going to happen. For instance, would you like to go out and do this or that? Well, there's a really good chance by 53, you've probably already done it. Okay. There aren't too many brand new activities you're running into at 53. And, a lot of them you're just like, yeah, I think I'd rather just stay home, and it's something that I got to break out of. It really is. It's something I got to break out of. I got to get out more. Everybody's got to get out more. I promise you, it's a good thing. Do you know that vitamin D deficiencies are becoming a massive issue in our country? How about that? Remember when they used to say, whatever you do, you got to make sure you stay out of the sun? Woo, howdy, are people listening to that? Yeah? That's one they got down. You know why? Because a smartphone will overheat in really hot weather in about 10, 15 minutes. Can't have that. Can't have that.
I have a friend on Facebook who brags that the only time he leaves his house is to get his haircut. Because every single he works from home, he gets his food delivered, like groceries. He does order out. He leaves his house once a month to get his haircut.
Nice. Why doesn't he have someone come in and cut his hair?
Ask him. He can't do it. It's not that
Nobody does the inpatient haircuts? Because why not cut completely off? Well, you're going to die a whole hell of a lot sooner. That's what science is going to tell you. It's absolutely going to take you off the planet quicker. And if it doesn't, your cognitive decline is going to be to the point where you're not really going to enjoy yourself at the end. This is way bigger than just the sobriety thing. Although that's kind of our ballywick, right? But if you want to stay sober.
Sweet ballywick.
Do you like it?
Very sweet.
You can't work ballywick in every day.
No, you can't.
It takes some effort. Although I get my ballywicks in. What do you think? You've heard them before.
Glorious.
Ray, I get that. Ray says, all the friends I used to talk to on the phone and in person are all dead. You know what? There's really something to be said for that. And you know what? it makes going out and making friends sometimes a difficult thing to do, right? It really does. If everybody you know has been overdosed or buried or whatever, there are a lot of people who withdraw more, right? I don't want to meet new people who are going to die on me in 2 weeks, right? Uh, it's probably not particularly logical because normally the people we were hanging out with at the time we were hanging out with because they were doing dope. You follow me? And hopefully the people you're hanging out with now you're hanging out with because they're not doing dope. Hi, sorry, I was lurking again. I'm a lurking addict. I'll tell you about that. It's all right, Ben Turner. You can take the hairdryer to the torty. Man, I'm not hair drying my torty. It sounds filthy, but I'm talking about the cat. It does sound bad, though. Wow. Hey, I normally won't do this, but you are all getting my email. That's the spirit. The double lurk? You know what, Steve? I spent a lot of time in my time on this planet trying to avoid talking about trauma, mine or anyone else's. Right? I thought that it made life considerably more comfortable. But it's not what it did. It just shut me off from a lot of things that that I'm way better off if I'm not shut off from. But that's me personally. Jojo, the longer I'm clean and the older I get, the more unsociable I am. I kind of like it though. I consider myself a proud loner now. Jojo, you know what? I get that. I mean, that's me, honestly. I definitely have become less social. And or what I should say is I do it. Most of my socializing does not take place in person, I guess. Right. But some of that too is because it takes a minute after you get out of prison to get out of prison. You know what I mean? Like for real. There are hey, there's the noise opera. Good to see you, bud. Gotta love Nick. Big time. Big fan. Yeah, I really do. He's really, really a good dude. I'm glad my brother's okay too. We were clowning pretty toughly today, actually, though, because my kid called up and he's a pretty big fan of his uncle, Spanx Calhoun, but he's a big fan of his uncle. And he was talking to me and he goes, "Boy, you had to do CPR on me. It must have really stressed you out." I said, "Yeah." He's like, "How long did it take?" I said, "Well, I was Googling, what happens to your brother's YouTube channel if he just happens to go cold? Like, does it go to a family member or something?" But sometimes when you're out here in the sticks, Google is really slow, and thing just kept going around in circles. Figured it was now. It was now or never, right? Question. I always tried to give this message to the people I taught because they don't seem to remember. We help people, and sometimes we lose people, but those people we help, they repays bigly. You're absolutely right. I'll tell you something. I want to tell you something. This morning was, morning was a tough 5 a.m. to get up and do. It was, the next day is just it was a rugged. I wanted to get up and do, and I'm still having a tough time. But this morning was really hard. And someone who's going to get really angry at me if I say who they are because they don't like the credit thing, right? Like it really bothers them. So I'm going to do it anyway because I never do it. But full of hope this morning, I put up, you know what? But for all of those people that you lose, there's always a Lydia. And man, it shut down the live feed. I promise you, it shut down the live feed. But it was I needed that comment so badly. I really did. And, we do win a lot. I swear to God, we win a lot. And if we all communicate a little better, we're going to win more. For real. That's what it comes down to. If you're lurking and you're listening to me and you're high, man, you need to start talking to some people. And this is about the least threatening communication that you are going to find on planet Earth. Right? Nobody's staring at you, right? I'm the only one that has to deal with that. Me and this guy. But he drinks fish that's been in the desert. You know, my son chastised the hell out of me for that. Like he really did. It was like a dad yelling at a kid. He's like, please tell me that really wasn't out there for 2 or 3 weeks, right? That was just a put on. I'm like, nah, it might have been out there. Honestly,
if you go back,
I got the grow up, kind of thing. He was like, what are you kidding me, man? Boy, that was just stupid. Whose idea was that? I was like, his. Yeah. But it really was too. I've already said hello, but I just like saying, hey, Snotface. Good to see you, Snotface.
one of those great names you just love saying.
It is. Hey, Mr. Smokes. Good to see you. You know what that means? You know who's not far behind.
So,
Monk. Mark
Bizzle,
Google.
lurking, but I'm not high. I love you, Bizzle.
Well, working with people who smell kind of makes me grouchy too. That, and I'm going for that grouchy image like Dr. House. You know what? You could do worse, man. You could absolutely do worse than going for the grumpy Dr. House thing. I was a huge fan of it. I really was. I thought that was a great show.
The first season was great. After that went down.
You know what? Maybe it's because it was one of the last shows that I ever watched, like before like that came to an end and I stopped watching anything. But I watched a lot of that. Hey, Boat says Peppers in Kentucky living. Good to see you, man. Glad that you're here. Yeah. Always nice when the pepper community is in the house. Happens from time to time, especially if hey, Liz. Good to see you, Liz. How are you? Glad that you're here. The whole clothespin on the nose thing actually only works in cartoons. For real. I've gone into some really horrifically bad smelling situations, right? Aside from just being Johnny Scoville's brother, I had some other rugged gigs along the way. None as bad as that, to be honest, but that's really been the worst of them. But I've had some jobs that have been rather foul. But you're better off to just take something that is really pungent smelling and just sort of put it underneath. Vicks under the nose works a little, says Ben Turner, and I agree with you. Liz, I'm glad. I really am. I was concerned. I like Liz a lot. And I would never want that to change. Need to communicate better. Me. It's something I need to work on. I really do. But I have spent the last couple of weeks really, I don't know, spending a lot of time thinking about that. We liked House because he threw back the Vicodin like we did the Oxys. You know, honestly, until he said that, I swear to you, I had forgotten that he ate pills in every single episode.
I did too. I mean, like good and plenty.
I swear to you, I forgot that. Rev Girl, good to see you. If I have welcomed you to the boat, I don't remember because I'm got that wicked short-term memory loss for whatever reason. It's just been that way for a long, long time. But if I've said hello to you before, see, Ben Turner says I forgot about that drug thing too.
Isn't that weird? That's the main part of the show. Everybody forgot.
Yes.
I remember they were sneaking pills into these cohorts. Were sneaking pills in jail once.
There were a couple of different. There were a couple of different episodes where he was. Didn't he lose his license over that too? Do you know I was in? There was a guy I was incarcerated with who lost his license for writing scripts to himself for the lauded, and yeah, and they pulled his license and they said to him, if you get somebody to babysit you, so he had to find a doctor who was willing to sign off and say, I'll be his mentor for the next year, 2 years. I don't know what the probationary period of time is, but he had to have somebody babysit him during that period of time. And he went immediately out and stole a pad from, he went to prison in the show.
I went to jail. I don't went to prison.
Wow. Did he really? In the show, he went to the joint. I didn't know. I had no idea. Well, I was with the doctor and he stole his best friend's, who was a doctor, his prescription pad and started writing scripts on his best friend's prescription number. And he lost his license to practice medicine. And then he got caught practicing medicine without a license. And they just kept giving him one shot after another. And finally he ended up in prison, federal prison. And it was sad. He's a super, super smart guy. And as soon as they got him away from dope, you know what I mean? Like he really came back pretty quick. But Rev Girl, I have a lot of moderators because I've got a lot of haters. And because very often here we talk about subject matters that are pretty near and dear to people. And sometimes people talk about things from their past, but they just don't need some jackwagon saying something stupid. So we do have a lot of wrenches, and I'm usually looking for more, to be really honest with you. You know what I mean? But the crew that I've got, these people could come over to my house, take the car. You know what I mean? I got a crew of moderators that have been with me for a really, really long time and are about the greatest people on planet Earth. I got really, really blessed, and without them, there wouldn't be a lifeboat. And I'm not being facetious or blowing it up bigger than it is. They were all here in the very beginning, right? If you're a moderator here, you were probably a really early lifeboat crew member, and because of that, we've had to go through the that whole process like 4 or 5 times already, and you find out who your friends are really quick. And then you hand them wrenches. Yes, they are welcoming. They're good people, man. Jerry Faulkner says, smash away, moderators. Yeah, you do this so quick, you don't even know it. You got to love them. Well, people, we are going to be getting back to normal. We really are. The reason that communication was such an important thing for me to talk about today was for 2 big reasons. One is because recently, the communication has become an issue with people that I care about. You know what I mean? And it happens a lot. It really does. When you have a YouTube channel, this kind of thing happens all the time. But the saddest part of it is, it's never what it is, right? It's never this side and it's never that side. It's always some version of something that isn't black and white. You know what I mean? Yeah, I make myself laugh, but it isn't that, you know, it's not, we don't live in a black and white world. We really don't. We live in a gray world. And if we communicate better, we'll realize that, I think. So much more often than not, what I find is that we have so much more in common than we have that separates us, right? So, you know what, V, I appreciate that. But it's been, I don't know that I'd change a whole hell of a lot, really. If it's crap that happened to me, you know, when if it hadn't happened when it did, then, you know, right about now, I'd probably be going insane. But I just don't. I mean, I have absolutely learned how to deal with it. You know, I've gotten really, really good at dealing with it. It doesn't mess with my radar. But it did. You know, you gotta thicken up some skin if you're gonna do this game, because, or just get smart and just don't look at it. Don't go look at it. Right? Did you ever Google yourself?
Yeah.
Really? I don't know. I would never have any desire to know.
Someone told me something about me. That's why I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found.
Ruin your day?
No, I'm a millionaire apparently.
Oh no, I saw that.
I'm worth $3 million.
Yeah, I saw your net
I
worth
drive
on
a new
there.
Tesla.
Oh, I didn't receive the Tesla part. Good for you.
Yeah,
Good for you. Yeah, I think I shot off a text that day. I was like, hey man,
Got that buddy you owe
yeah,
me?
don't you owe me some gas? You got a couple of bucks you could ridiculous stuff. It really is. Yeah. But yeah, you know what? It has brought the boat together. And I'll tell you something else. The things that I did in the beginning of this channel that probably came pretty close to killing me and every co-host that I've ever had. Sorry, Mark. Sorry, Heather. But I think it certainly set a tone for the channel, and I think it was probably a decent thing. It certainly is not something that I'm going to be able to.
When a
to
channel
continue.
goes like yours, it takes on a life of its own. It's always evolving. It never stays the same. There's a flux.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, every day.
It's just like the weather. It ain't gonna look like this tomorrow. It's just there's constantly an evolution.
Steve Googled himself and found the Kardashians' hairdresser. Well, that's really something. You could probably use that to get into bars. Okay. Nightclubs. Hey, don't you know who I am? Check with the Kardashians. Yeah, I don't Google myself. I really don't want to. Again, I just don't care. And if any of it was real, but good Lord, the things that they write about you. But again, it comes down to right. Do you know how many times people believe that crap?
Oh.
Huh? For real? Well, they wrote it. It's got to be true. You run into people all of the time that got bamboozled. This thing, pick it up, call someone, talk to them, say, hey, how you doing? This is who I am. Right? A little communication. It goes a pretty long way. Yeah, good to see you too. Glad that you're here today on the lifeboat. I Googled myself and it took me to some FBI website. Checks out. That's it. I was going to say. Checks out. NCIC? Yep. You betcha. Trying to tickle her. Yeah, squirrel's always good for a little tickle with the tail. I told you guys she's back in the saddle. She's been very, very consistently right here in the basket.
She's a trip.
Isn't she funny as hell? Don't. She's trying to take out trying to pull the headphones out so she can eat them. I'm not joking you. She's eating 25 pair of headphones. It's her favorite thing in the world to do. Very, very silly animal. All right, peeps. 38 minutes. A little short. It really is. It's a little short. But I'm cats and natural healers. Boy, there is a lot of truth to that.
I don't know if you remember this, the video where you talked about she was crawling back and forth on you.
Yeah.
She could tell. I'm telling you, if you go, I don't want to watch it again.
Yeah.
But she was trying to.
Not the first video she's done that on too. When we're having a bad time, animals definitely get it. She was amazing last night. And you know what? Before we go, yeah, dogs, absolutely. Dogs, cats. I mean, people bond like that with birds. People bond like that with so many different things. Absolutely. I think dogs probably. Yeah, I had a Chiweenie, and that dog, the bond in a brief time. I had to go to the hospital once for a couple of weeks. I had a really terrible infection that required IV antibiotics twice a day for a long time. It was a terrible. But for the first 2 weeks they kept me in. And then for the next 3 weeks, I was on a deal where I would just drive up to the hospital a couple of times a day to get the bag. But when I was in there, I hadn't seen my dog, in several weeks. And the noise that dog made when I walked into the house, I will never forget. As long as I was
happy that dog was there.
peed on the floor, just made just the happiest animal. Just I thought he was dead. I mean, he's been gone so long. Yeah, they're amazing. Animals are just. That's what we're all hoping for, isn't it?
Life's better with
Little unconditional love, right? Hey, Tommy, you should try to interview Nathan Rich. He's an ex-Scientologist and addict with a phenomenal story. if you have some contact information on that gentleman, send it to me at sober@myyahoo.com. Not your Yahoo or regular Yahoo, but my Yahoo. Sober@myyahoo.com. Scoob, hang in there. They're almost home. And boy, I feel you. There are times. Ray, that's a good thing. That really is. That is an absolutely great thing, in fact. I wish I could say that. All right, peeps. Now, 41 minutes. Not bad. Not bad. Zen Wind. You know what? I love Easy Dove. She is the consistency. Wow, look at that. I'm not very good at this. There we go. There you go. Thank you, ZW, for everything. You know, another just a really amazing group of people. It's nothing short of amazing. Squirrel off the port bow. She is actually permanently. Okay. Aaron interviewed him. Thank you. Then I will look that up. You have my word. I would be that would be an interesting interview to do. I think that would be great. Scoob, it would not be work if there was not a coworker that's lazy and doesn't do anything. That's standard issue at every job in North America, right? I think there's actually an application that someone has to fill out for that. What's your job? I'm going to do nothing. I'm going to frustrate everybody else in here, but it'll bring the camaraderie together for the 5 people that can't stand me. I think that every place has got one of those. That's a great. Squirrel off the port bow. That it is. You know what? My brain begins to perk. All right, Nick. We'll see you, bud. Have a great night, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville. Let me turn this cat around. Get a better look here. And this here, that is a cat in a basket. What do you say, Squirrel Nut? A particularly happy cat in the basket. All right, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.